What's up, everybody? The Game 2K2 here again, and I'm here for another video game look back. And today we're going all the way back to 2001, and we're taking a look at the very first Halo game. This is Halo Combat Evolved. This was one of the Xbox's launch titles, and this was by Bungie Games, which is literally the Halo franchise is literally their flagship franchise. At the time when Halo released, this was Microsoft's first venture into console gaming. The Xbox had kind of been the butt of many jokes before its release, and Halo was really the game to solidify Microsoft as a force in the video game world. And yeah, let's see how this game holds up after all this time. And to be quite honest, I have not played Halo since the release of Halo 2, so I haven't played this game in about 8 years, so I don't really remember a lot about the original game, so this is going to be really new to me for the most part. So yeah, let's take a look. We'll just go with that profile name. I just literally downloaded this. This is the Xbox Live port of this game, and I have yet to play it, so we'll do normal. And again, you know, the Xbox had just released at this point. This was one of its launch titles. A lot of questions were raised. You know, would the Xbox be able to compete with Sony and Nintendo? And the answer to that was truly it could. Halo was really a big part of the Xbox's success. And it really was, you know, a game that really showcased what the Xbox was capable of. Bungie Games was one of very few developers that really knew how to push the Xbox to its graphical limits, and it had some amazing limits too. A lot of people underestimate, you know, what the Xbox was really capable of. Even towards the end of its run, there really wasn't a developer that really knew how to push the system to its graphical limits. It was really only Bungie that knew how to do it. Now, when Halo was in development, Bungie initially meant it to be a RPG game. It wasn't really meant to be a first-person shooter. It was only later in the development that they decided to make it like this. And you can kind of tell that it was meant to be an RPG. There were still elements to the game that kind of called back to that genre. It was really the second game that made it kind of 100% a first-person shooter. And this is really impressive graphics for the time. You know, the PS2 had been doing a couple things, you know, that were really revolutionary at the time too, but the Xbox was really the console that showed graphics that, you know, console gaming had yet to really get into at that time. The PS2, you know, while I find the PS2 to be graphically impressive in its own right for that particular generation, you know, the Xbox was truly the dominant console. From that perspective, but unfortunately, you know, the Xbox, you know, could not catch up with the PS2. The PS2 sold so much during this time, and you know, the Xbox, you know, it released around the same time as the GameCube as well. But those two consoles came out at a time where the PS2 was just so dominant that there was really no catching up with the PS2. But the Xbox did really well on its own. I believe it held second place for that particular generation in terms of console gaming, followed by the GameCube and of course the Dreamcast, which unfortunately had been discontinued by this point. These cutscenes are actually really funny. You know, to see, you know, what these games look like now and to compare them to games today, they are really kind of funny to look at. They do look a little weird compared to today's games, but you know, you have to remember, you know, this is 2001, and in 2001 this was something else. Now, one thing about this game that I'm noticing so far, at least, is that the story is not quite as well designed as the later games would be. You know, by Halo 2, Bungie knew what they wanted with the Halo franchise, so they were able to kind of write the story better. You know, the cutscenes were better handled. You know, the dialogue was better handled. So everything really came out better in Halo 2, and then it's evolved again in Halo 3. Halo 3 got a little bit more dramatic in a lot of ways, and you know, I thought the story in Halo 3 was slightly better than Halo 2. I didn't think the game itself was better than Halo 2, but I thought the story was better. Okay, we're able to control his head finally. This was also really interesting at the time, being able to kind of look around your environments during the cutscenes. You know, that's become standard today, but you know, this was still relatively new back then. You know, in cutscenes there weren't a lot of free range with the characters, but here there's a little bit of free range during the cutscenes. You know, you're able to manipulate his head while the character in front of you is talking. And let's get out of here. And this is a rather lengthy cutscene too. We have yet to actually get to the gameplay. Let me turn this up, I can barely hear it. Oh, sorry, I think I nailed my microphone there. Oh, red square. Target each. Controls are a little bit loose with Halo. I am noticing that right off the bat. Like, aiming it kind of a little loose. It's kind of tough. Vertical looking now. Target. Okay. Also, the Master Chief kind of operates a little differently than he would later on. As the series went on, but again, as the series went on, the Master Chief kind of operated a little more realistically. You know, they made his walking a little slower, and again, it was realistic. Here, it kind of is reminiscent of Wolfenstein 3D a little bit. He walks at about 100 miles an hour, and the controls, you know, the way you move is kind of a little too loose. There's not the aiming is not as controlled as it would be later. Woo! Okay. This is a very long this takes a while. I kind of forgotten how long this has taken to get to the actual gameplay. Alright, now we're finally might see some action here. Well, he's dead. Woo! Okay, I kind of forget where to go here.